Welcome back, everybody, to the Fruit of Grisaia. In the last episode, Kazuki intimately sucked down our wound, and Mr. Ochi is now preparing to climb down the mountain and try to get help. Only now has he decided this is a good time to do that. But everyone's starting to get desperate. Everyone's getting malnourished. Signs are approaching. The captain doesn't want to give the wounded extra food because, well, they're kind of taken from our supply, and they're not very useful being wounded and all. And Amane was like, no, that's wrong. But Kazuki's like, no, she's not wrong in her logic. She's to worry about survival. You know, it's important at this point. People are getting a little desperate. So, remember, if you liked the video, to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more.
でも心配はいらないわ。もしも何かを犠牲にしなければあなたを守れないという状況になったら、私は全てを犠牲にしてでもあなたを守るから。
Try not to cry.
全然大丈夫。
Try not to cry.
愛してるわ、アマネ。
嬉しいけど大丈夫だよ。私自分の身は自分で守るから。
あら本当？実は私も自分のことで精一杯な部分もあって、そうしてもらえるとすごく助かるわ。
Kazuki was just affirming my own words, but for some reason I felt like she was abandoning me. All of a sudden there was a dull pain in my chest.
大丈夫よ。アマネは強い。
Don't leave me. I need you. More than you ever know. That's right. I can't let myself stay dependent on Kazuki forever. I wanted her words to be true. I wanted to be strong enough to help her, strong enough to protect her, strong enough to be necessary to her. If I couldn't be strong now, I had the feeling I'd be weak forever, always hiding behind the protection of others, helpless and worthless until the end of my days. Oh my god, that is loud. Oh, we're turning that down. I'm sorry.
音量の設定をするわよ。
Oh wait, no, that's sound effects. Why did I never turn the sound effects down? Oh, they're down now. Alright. The 9th day in the Valley of Death. The morning of Mr. Ochi's departure from the camp was, unfortunately, a rainy one.
先生、どうかお気をつけて。
With the exception of the immobile Haruka-san, everyone gathered in the drizzling rain to see our teacher off. Mr. Ochi stood before us, a heavy rucksack on his back, impassive to the water running down his glasses. It felt as though I was looking at a young officer about to head off for the front lines. As a matter of fact, there had been some vaguely sarcastic jokes yesterday about making him one of those 1,000-stitch belt good luck charms the Imperial soldiers used to take to war. But no matter how unreliable Mr. Ochi had been as a teacher, everyone quietly recognized that he was now our only visible glimmer of hope. 10 members of the basketball team had survived the fall. Our belt would have come up a good 990 stitches short. Not to say that we sent him off completely empty-handed, although our gift was less sentimental and more practical. When the rain began to fall this morning, we hastily cut apart trash bags to create a makeshift poncho. These had been a virtual necessity on rainy days, especially before we constructed the toilets, so we had the hang of making them by this point. The poncho offered some protection from the rain while allowing us free use of both of our arms, for a short while at least. It would keep out the wet and prevent your body temperature from falling too dramatically. That said, in the end, it was a pretty flimsy thing. And on a cosmetic level, it was not only distinctively ugly, it made an irritating rustling sound every time you took a step. Nonetheless, Mr. Ochi accepted it with a sincerely grateful thank you.
では行くよ。必ず助けを呼んでくる。それまで、なんとか生き延びてくれ。
Will do, Mr. Ochi. Godspeed. With those brief words, Mr. Ochi turned his back on us and immediately began to walk off. Lingering for a long farewell would have been a waste of daylight hours. Once inside the forest, a thick tree canopy would block out most of the sun's light. We knew all too well how poor his visibility would be in this rain, which would soon transform the jungle into a misty, unfamiliar labyrinth of Grisaia. Of course, some suggested postponing any action until the weather improved, but if we delayed over the rain, it felt entirely possible we'd keep finding excuses to put off that first step. Maybe tomorrow would be too hot, or somebody would feel too sick. Before long, sheer inertia would glue us to our comfortable sleeping bags. Because he understood that, Mr. Ochi had made the firm decision to leave today, regardless of conditions. We watched him marching bravely down towards the forest, unable to keep the unease from our faces. If we had little rising sun flags to flap around, we wouldn't have locked out of place in a 60-year-old photograph. But unlike the relatives of those doomed soldiers, our anxiety was accompanied by an undercurrent of guilt. We weren't afraid of our teacher's well-being. We were worried about our own uncertain future.
先生、大丈夫かな？
The words spilled spontaneously out of my mouth. Sakuma-senpai, who'd been standing at my side throughout the little ceremony, glanced over.
まあ正直あまり期待しない方がいいね。
Sakuma's tone of voice was resigned, almost detached. The first to respond was Ibuki, who had been standing at her partner's side, her limbs shivering in the cold rain.
私たちの食料半分も持って行ったんですよ。結果を出してくれなきゃ困りますよ。
Damn, he took all the food? Well, not half the food? That's a lot of food, probably. Well, at this point, probably not. Kanade-senpai, as always scratching vigorously away at the bandage on her forehead, gave a little snort of laughter at Ibuki's words.
あれでも一応大学時代はテニス部だったんでしょ。体力はあるんじゃないの？
Next in line stood Komori-san, her miniature dog's face peeping out from the neck of her school uniform.
どうしてテニス部だった人がバスケ部の顧問やってるんでしょう？
At Komori's other side, Sakurai was pressing her hands against her stomach wound, bending over slightly to shield it from the rain. As the conversation, not conservation, seemed to be moving neatly down the line, she tentatively opened her mouth and spoke.
大学のテニス部って要は女の子目当てのナンパな男子が集まる部でしょ。冬はスキー部になったりする感じの。
It's amazing, 8 days with these women and I don't know any of their names. Apparently amused to hear those words from the normally meek and refined Sakura-senpai, Kazuki chuckled lightly at her side.
その認識で間違ってないところが悲しいわね。
Her eyes fixed on Mr. Ochi as his figure grew small in the distance. Koide-senpai responded to Kazuki's words with an anxious frown.
本当大丈夫なのかな。
Now that he had set forth, there was nothing more we could do either way. It was in the hands of fate now. Sakuma-senpai gave a wry little snort. Lately, her prowess at playing cards had allowed her to push most of her chores onto others, and her attitude was getting increasingly irreverent as her leisure time grew.
あとはもううんぷてんぷに任せるしかないね。分の悪い賭けだけど、賭けってのはその方が面白いよ。
I guess. Clearly irritated by Sakuma's flippant tone, Captain Takashita finally broke her silent vigil.
遊びじゃないのよ。くだらない冗談を言っている暇があるなら、他にやるべきことがいくらでもあるでしょ。はいはい、ごめんよ。
Sakuma's typically indifferent response earned her a brief withering glare. After a moment, the captain turned sharply on her heel and stalked off toward her tent without another word. Heaving a small sigh at this abrupt departure, Koide gave a light nod of acknowledgement to Kazuki, then trotted off to follow her partner.
なんかさ、坂下を見てると、こういう状況でも怒鳴り散らすだけの人間がどれだけ惨めかって思い知らされるよね。
Well,
彼女を見ていると、しっかりしなきゃって逆に落ち着いてくるよ。そういう意味では、いい反面教師だ。
obeying someone simply because they outshout any voices of opposition is the height of foolishness. Over the days we'd spent here, that realization had sunk deeply into our very bones. At moments like these, everyone's gaze would naturally settle on Kazuki. They turned to a freshman, a small girl no taller than 150 centimeters, with eyes of absolute trust. The third years among us were no exception. The vaguely rebellious Sakuma seemed to have concluded in characteristically happy-go-lucky style that when Kazami's around, life's a lot easier. And having essentially entrusted her life to Kazuki as a patient, Sakura-senpai had begun to politely address her with an honorific.
言い方はどうあれ、坂下部長の言葉に間違いがないのも事実です。寒暖じみた愚痴り合いをしている暇があれば、食べ物を探しましょう。
There was no changing the fact that we'd given half of our already meager stockpile to Mr. Ochi. From now on, our meals would be all the more grimly austere. Even so, he'd only taken enough food for 2 days, along with 2 liters of sterilized water in plastic bottles. From a simple estimate of the calories he'd be consuming and burning, he'd last 4 days at the longest. Although Mr. Ochi had estimated that 3 days of consistent progress would bring him to human habitation, we knew all perfectly well that he wouldn't be able to simply stroll straight through that forest. But he himself was probably more familiar with that harsh reality than any of us, so we kept our silence.
ああ、この雨の中森に入るのか。
何言ってんですか。どうせ森に入ってもフラフラしてるだけで全然働かないくせに。
仕方がないよ。私は貴族だからね。
一つお願いがあるんですけど、いいですか。
なんだい？言ってごらんよ。
一度本気で殴らせてください。いいえ、みんなのために単身森に入った越智先生に代わって先輩を殴ります。
それで君の気が晴れるのならそうするといい。あまり痛くしないでもらえると助かるかな。
だから髪に触らないでください。
Partially slapping aside Sakuma-senpai's hand, Ibuki stamped off towards the forest alone. Watching her partner go, Sakuma spread her arms, turned her palms to the sky, and offered an exaggerated shrug of the shoulders to no one in particular. But soon enough, she followed without a word. All said and done, they were a friendly pair.
私らはどうする？
Fiddling with her rain-wet bandage as she brushed her hair out of her eyes, Kanade-senpai turned to address her partner Komori. Staring down at the dog nestled against her chest, Komori-senpai answered in an apologetic tone of voice.
すみません。今日はアー君の具合が悪いみたいで。
またかよ。なんかその犬、雨が降るとすぐ体調崩すよね。やっぱあれか？湿度が高いと前髪が決まんなくて超下げなんですけどみたいな感じになんのかね。
まさかそれはないと思いますけど。
まあいいよ。今日は私が行くからさ。あんたは犬と一緒にテントで待ってな。
すみません。
Kaneda set off with brood strides, apparently trying to play up her self-assigned role as the manly big brother of the household. Komori hurried off as well, leaning over the dog in her uniform to shield it from the elements. Well then, what about us? When I glanced over in Kazuki's direction, I was surprised to find Sakura-senpai still loitering quietly by her side. When our eyes met, Sakurai gave me a gentle smile, then cocked her head slightly to the side as if to say, "Is something the matter?" Staring into her face, I couldn't help but thinking she really was a good bit more beautiful than the average pinup you'd find in a cheap men's magazine.
桜井先輩はどうされます？
今までの恩返しもありますし、できれば食材探しに私も参加させてもらえればと。
それは助かりますけど、大丈夫なんですか？
はい。お腹の怪我ももうだいぶ良くなってきましたし。
That's good.
ダメよ。
でも
気持ちはわかるしありがたいけれど、今無理をすればまた悪化するわよ。桜井さんはテントに戻って広岡さんについていてあげてください。
つまんない。
食材探しだって別に楽しくはないわ。もともとあなたは体が丈夫ではないのだし、おとなしく私の言うことを聞きなさい。
はーい。
Okay, that was adorable. I don't know about you.
今の何？
くしゃみよ。
でも今ペキュって言ったよ。
一見すると欠点が少ないように見える桜井さんだけれど、どうにもくしゃみが変なのよね、この人。
気にしてる
いいからさっさとテントに戻りなさい。この上風邪をひいたりしたらまた私の仕事が増えるじゃないの。
のに。はいはい。
Smiling sweetly, Sakurai patted Kazuki on the head, then obediently walked off toward her tent. That is, the large tent where Haruka-san was waiting.
桜井先輩、美人だね。
そうね、性格もおとなしいし、 本当に欠点の少ない人だわ。もうお腹が出るような水着は着れないと思うけれど。
そっか。
As she watched Sakurai-senpai walk away, her thin arms shielding her stomach, Kazuki's profile betrayed a hint of sadness. Sakurai's parents had probably been planning to bring their daughter into the world of show business sooner or later. What would they think when they saw that wound across her belly? An ugly, jagged, dark red gash, discharging pus faster than we could clean and disinfect it. Would they be overjoyed their daughter had at least survived, or hurt by her misfortune?
私たちも行きましょう。
そうだね。
When I stared down the misty jungle, I could see the indistinct shapes of human beings wriggling into the trees in search of sustenance. We were stumbling in fog, nothing to guide us, nothing but the unknown ahead, clawing desperately for survival. How long would this go on? How long until fortune smiled on us? How long until we could rest? What will be, will be. There's no way to know how this will end. For now, we just need to do what we can. For now, those words were still enough to keep my feet moving, but I was beginning to feel that the limits of my endurance might be approaching. Even so, as Kazami Kazuki made her way down the valley, the only thought in my mind was to follow her. By now, I'd stopped even considering any other course of action. It's still so loud. The 10th day in the valley. 10 days. Wow.
もううんざり。雨が降ると途端に体がだるくなる。テントの中にいても雨はどんどん染み込んでくるし、慢性化した湿気が原因なのか、苔だかカビだかの青臭いような匂いがますます濃くなってくる。ここ数日の雨の様子はほとんど梅雨の様相だ。今度の雨は相当にしつこい。当分やみそうもない。テントを叩く雨粒の音でなんとなくそうわかる。梢の隙間を伝って育った大きな雨粒がテントに当たる音は不規則で、ずっと聞いているとイライラしてくる。もはや口癖のように、ああお腹が空いたと私が口にすれば、最近の和樹は眉を寄せる。そんなこと言われなくても分かっているわと機嫌が悪くなるのだ。それでも私が空腹を訴え続ければ、最後にはうるせえ、寝ちまえと、そんなことを言い出す。
ちょっと、私はそんなことを言った覚えはないわよ。
え？
私は動く必要のない時には眠るのも立派な仕事よと言っただけでしょ。
やだな和樹、勝手に私の日記を読まないでよ。
読んでないわよ。あなたが日記を書きながらそれを声に出して勝手に私に聞かせていたんでしょ。
No, kill Kazuki and sleep. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
嘘。
自覚なし。重傷ね。気をつけなさい、Amane。まるで一人でブツブツと文句を言いながら料理をするとんかつ屋の主人みたいで気持ち悪いわよ。
Oh man, I'm in trouble. I talk to myself all the time.
何それ。よくわかんないけど、人の顔を真剣に見つめてキモいとか言わんといてもらえる？へこむわ。
ほら、私が捕まえたカタツムリをあげるから、これでも食べて元気を出しなさい。
Ew, they just eat the snails raw? Isn't that bad?
もうでんでん虫飽きた。っていうか、虫以外のものが食べたいよ。
カタツムリは陸外よ。まあ貝は虫じゃないのかと言われると微妙なのだけれど、それよりAmane。
Kazuki pointed to her cheek with one finger as if to tell me I had a grain of rice stuck to the corner of my mouth. After a brief moment of confusion, I brought my hand up to my face. My fingers quickly found something slimy on my cheek. That is to say, a leech. My forest friends. I had grown exceptionally tough-minded about this sort of thing. Another leech wasn't going to get a scream out of me this late in the game. Carefully peeling the creature off my cheek, I held it between the fingertips of both hands, dug my nails into its body, and ripped it apart. This was another lovely side effect of the rain. Leeches had begun to find their way inside our tent. After waking up, peeling the bloodsuckers off my body was becoming the first part of my daily routine. First and foremost, I had to peel them off my eyelids. Next, the one sticking to my neck, wrists, and ankles. The leeches seem to have particular fondness for those points where the body grows narrow. Other than that, they'd also go for places where the skin was thin, the backs of my knees and elbows, and my armpits, my groin. There were even a few that burrowed in between my toes, as if trying to make themselves a cozy little nest. The first few times this happened, we'd shriek hysterically when we woke, but after a few days, we'd lost the will to even moan. And either our bodies had developed a resistance to Hirudan, or we'd just gotten used to treating the bites, as the trickle of blood from the wounds would now stop after only an hour or so. Kazuki speculated that our growing sodium deficiency might be affecting the salinity of our blood, but there was no way to tell for sure. As the day crept into evening without a break in the rain, Kazuki and I headed to the large tent in order to visit Haruka-san and Sakura-senpai. Outside, I started the usual fire under the primitive stove, made the usual thin watery weed soup, and boiled the usual bucket of hot water. With the gruel in my right hand and the hot water in my left, I made my way back to the hospital tent. It was important to remember which was in which hand, since it was no longer obvious which was the water and which was the gruel. Calling it gruel was a bit of a joke by this point. At a glance, it looked more like stone soup. Even so, since we were mixing in a bit of the rice distributed to Kazuki and me, the wounded Sakura and Haruka were still eating slightly better than the rest of us.
お湯が沸いたよ。
ありがとうアマネ。そこの手ぬぐいを熱湯で消毒して広岡さんの体を拭いてあげてくれる？
うん、任せて。
Kazuki didn't turn around when I entered the tent. She was steadily unwinding the yellow-stained bandages from Sakurai's stomach and removing the gauze from her wound to be replaced. We'd washed the gauze over and over in boiling water to the point where it was beginning to blacken. It made for all the more striking a contrast against the yellow pus that permeated its surface. No matter how many times we carefully disinfected Sakurai's laceration, this separation wasn't showing any signs of stopping. If we weren't in this situation, it surely wouldn't have been difficult to treat. But given our unsanitary conditions and utter lack of medical supplies, we simply couldn't stop the bacteria from multiplying. Above all else, the patient wasn't getting the nutrition her body needed to fight its way to recovery. When I reached out for the dirty gauze in order to sterilize it for reuse, I noticed something squirming on its surface. It was a maggot. Thrashing its fat little body madly from within the depths of the pus that had soaked into the gauze, it almost seemed to be consciously trying to crawl back towards Sakurai's stomach.
こっちはいいから広岡さんを。
Immersing the washcloth, a strip of cloth cut from an old t-shirt, in the hot water, I left it to soak and began to unbutton Haruka's uniform. At first, she'd been quite embarrassed to be seen naked, but by now she submitted quietly without even squirming. She might have simply lost the energy necessary to feel shame. Haruka-san's chest had withered dramatically since the first time I'd wiped her clean. Her ribs stood out distinctly against the surface of her skin, and her skin was molted here and there with small white flecks. The small fuzzy little spots could be dusted off by hand. At first, I thought they'd be something like cotton dust from her sleeping bag. But when I asked Kazuki, I learned for the first time that mold can grow on a living human body. Haruka was covered in pale white mildew.
ちょっと待ってね。今熱いタオルで拭いてあげるから。
私もう痛い。
何？なんて？
Haruka's dry, cracked lips were moving slightly. I lowered my ear to her mouth.
私もう死にたい。
大丈夫だよ。ちょっとカビが生えただけじゃん。
Scooping the washcloth out of the hot water with a pair of chopsticks, I waited for it to cool below scalding, then gave it a vigorous squeeze.
体中がかゆいの。気が変になりそう。もう嫌。
我慢して。今きれいにしてあげるから。
I dropped the moderately hot towel against Haruka's body and began to wipe. The mold came off cleanly, but underneath there were innumerable angry, swollen red welts where fingernails had dug into her flesh.
書いちゃダメって言ったのに。
The more she scratched, the more she spread the mold across her body.
ごめんなさい。どうしても我慢できなくて。
Wide-scale, unrelenting itchiness is absolute torment. No matter how firmly you're told not to scratch, you'll unconsciously claw at your body while asleep. Haruka-san's reflexive habit had grown so extreme that we'd actually tried binding her hands to prevent this. That night she woken the entire camp screaming. Writhing her body against her restraint, she had scraped the body against the hard ground, crying again and again for help.
ありがとうスオさん。気持ちいい。
When I wiped her body clean, the itchiness would reduce at once. She described it as an almost blissful sensation. Even so, that comfort would last an hour or two at most. Once wrapped up in her sleeping bag, the itchiness would return as her body temperature began to rise. I was now making the time-consuming trip to wipe her clean many times a day.
ごめんね。面倒ばっかりかけて。本当にごめんなさい。
大丈夫だよ。そんなこと言っちゃダメだよ。体を拭いてあげるぐらいいつだってしてあげるから元気出してよ。
If anything, it was bitterly sad to know there was nothing more I could do for her, no matter how hard I tried.
スオさん。私この恩は必ず返すから。
うん、そうして。そのためには絶対に生き残らないとね。
私死んでも絶対にこの恩を忘れないよ。
As she spoke, tears began to run in little streams down Haruka's face.
だからそういうこと言わないの。大丈夫。死なないから。
Wiping a tear from Haruka's cheek with the tip of my finger, I reflexively brought it to my mouth. Haruka's tears were still salty. I was slightly envious of that. The 11th day in the valley. And you know what? We're going to save this 11th day for the next time, so take it easy, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow on more Fruit of Grisaia.